The Empire's fatal mistake. The Imperial Grand Assembly Hall echoed with the sound of hundreds of alien voices, each belonging to a representative of the mighty Zorvath Empire. They floated in their suspended grav seats, their many-colored robes flowing like liquid in the artificial gravity. Every species under the Empire's rule had gathered for a momentous occasion, the announcement of a new conquest. At the center of the chamber, standing tall and confident, was Grand Admiral Calveros, one of the most decorated warlords in Imperial history. His crimson battle uniform, adorned with medals from 1,000 victorious campaigns, shimmered under the Grand Hall's lighting. Behind him, the holographic projection of Earth rotated slowly, its blue and green surface almost insignificant compared to the vastness of Imperial space. "My esteemed lords and counselors," Admiral Veros began, his voice booming across the chamber. "We stand at the precipice of yet another glorious conquest, a primitive world, rich with resources, but ruled by a species too weak to defend it." His eyes gleamed with arrogance. With a motion of his hand, the hologram zoomed in on Earth's cities, military bases, and industrial centers. "This planet, known as Earth, has barely breached its own moon," he scoffed. "Their technology is archaic, machines fueled by crude combustion, primitive energy grids, and simple projectile-based weaponry. They still rely on cables and radio waves for communication. They have no unified planetary government, only warring factions that bicker over meaningless ideologies." A ripple of laughter spread through the assembly. The idea of a divided world standing against the might of the Zorvath Empire was absurd. "Are they aware of our presence?" a counselor from the Itari delegation asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Veros smirked. "No, their astronomical capabilities are laughable. Our spy probes have mapped their entire civilization without them even noticing." The holographic display shifted, revealing hidden Imperial reconnaissance drones stationed across Earth's orbit, carefully disguised as harmless space debris. The head chancellor of the Empire, an aged but imposing figure with 4 burning eyes, leaned forward in his chair. "And what of their weapons?" he asked. Veros pulled up a new image, an overview of Earth's military strength. "Their most powerful warheads rely on nuclear fission, laughable against our planet-cracking plasma lances. Their warships are slow and fragile, incapable of interstellar travel. Our smallest battlecruiser could wipe out their entire navy in mere minutes." The Chancellor nodded in approval. "Then let us proceed. How soon can we launch?" Veros straightened. "The invasion armada stands ready. 1,000 warships, each carrying the most elite warriors of the Empire. Our fleet will arrive in the Sol system in 30 days. I estimate the conquest will be complete within a single Earth cycle." The chamber erupted in applause. Another world would soon fall beneath the Empire's banner. With a final bow, Admiral Veros turned and left the assembly, his mind already envisioning the victory celebration that awaited him. He had no idea he had just signed the Empire's death warrant. The Watchers in the dark. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains of North America, far from the prying eyes of the public, lay one of Earth's most classified military installations, Project Black Horizon. Inside, the best minds of humanity worked in secret, analyzing strange transmissions that had been intercepted from the outer edges of the solar system. General Alan Reeves, a hardened military strategist with decades of experience, stood with his arms crossed, his expression grim. Before him, on a massive holographic display, flickered a distorted transmission, the remnants of an Imperial Fleet's communication burst. Though most of the alien language had been decoded, one thing was clear. Invasion Armada, 30 days. The room was silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on every operative. "Are we certain?" Reeves asked, his voice steady. A young intelligence officer nodded. "Yes, sir. The enemy's fleet is already mobilizing. Their arrival in our system is imminent." Reeves exhaled. For decades, Earth had prepared for this moment. The public believed humanity was still struggling with its first steps into deep space, that their military technology was limited to what the world governments revealed. They were wrong. Project Black Horizon had been monitoring alien civilizations for centuries. They had known about the Zorvath Empire long before the Empire had discovered them, and they had been preparing. "Activate Operation Iron Veil," Reeves ordered. Across the facility, alarms blared as Earth's hidden defenses came online. From the depths of the Pacific Ocean, massive hidden hangars opened, revealing sleek warships cloaked in adaptive camouflage. These vessels, decades ahead of anything Earth had publicly revealed, silently ascended into the stratosphere. From secret bunkers in Antarctica, self-learning AI defense networks booted up, processing trillions of calculations per second, preparing for instant countermeasures. High above the planet, disguised as weather satellites, Earth's true orbital defense platforms began shifting, revealing hidden plasma arrays and kinetic bombardment stations. Reeves turned to his communications officer. "What about the Hyperion defense grid?" "Fully operational, sir," the officer confirmed. "Once activated, nothing will be able to enter or leave the system without our approval." Reeves nodded, satisfied. They would let the Empire come. And when they did, they would never leave. The Empire's arrival. 30 days later, as expected, the Imperial Armada arrived. 1,000 warships, each one larger than the greatest human aircraft carriers, emerged from faster-than-light travel, casting enormous shadows over the outer planets. Admiral Veros stood proudly aboard his flagship, the ISS Dominion, watching as his fleet organized into attack formations. Before him, the Sol system lay defenseless. Or so he thought. "Begin the conquest broadcast," he ordered. Across Earth's entire communication network, the Empire's message blared, on every screen, every radio, every frequency. "People of Earth, your world is now under the protection of the Zorvath Empire. Surrender immediately, and you will be spared." Veros folded his arms, waiting for the usual desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, something unexpected happened. The transmission was interrupted. A new voice, calm and unshaken, replaced it. "Imperial Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You are trespassing in protected space. Turn back now." Veros laughed. "The fools actually think they can resist." He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the plasma lances. We'll show them what real power looks like." The crew obeyed. The massive energy cannons of the Imperial Fleet glowed with deadly plasma, each one capable of wiping entire continents off the map. But before they could fire a single shot, their systems went dark. Across the entire Imperial Armada, weapons powered down. Engines shut off. Shields collapsed. Panic erupted on the Dominion's bridge. "What happened?" Veros demanded. A terrified officer checked the systems. "Sir, something is hacking our fleet. They're shutting us down." Veros's blood ran cold. How was this possible? And then, from the darkness of space, Earth's hidden fleet emerged. Humanity had been waiting. And now, it was game over. The trap is sprung. Admiral Veros stood on the bridge of his flagship ISS Dominion, his mind racing. The impossible had just happened. The Zorvath Empire's most advanced fleet, 1,000 warships, each designed to conquer entire worlds, was now completely powerless. Their weapons refused to fire. Their shields had collapsed. Their engines were offline. Every console on the bridge flickered with error messages, displaying incomprehensible lines of code. The Imperial Armada, which had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, now drifted helplessly in the black void of space. And in front of them, from the shadowed side of Earth's moon, a fleet of unknown warships emerged. Veros's mandibles clenched. This was not possible. From the earliest reports, Earth had been primitive, a world of infighting nations, of weak technology, and archaic warfare. And yet, somehow, they had been expecting them. The Dominion's bridge crew erupted into chaos. "Sir, We have no control over our fleet. Our command systems are being hijacked. Main reactor power levels are plummeting. It's like something is draining us. Communications are completely jammed. We can't even signal the High Council." Varos's mind raced as he watched the Earth warships move with eerie precision, surrounding his now helpless fleet. Their vessels were sleek, angular, and eerily dark, as if they absorbed the very light around them. His tactical display flickered, trying desperately to analyze the enemy ships. But no solid readings came back. No weapons signatures, no identifiable energy output. Nothing. It was as if they were ghosts. Then a voice, calm, confident, and distinctly human, rang across every remaining Imperial frequency. "This is Admiral Alan Reeves of the United Earth Federation. You are trespassing in protected space. Your weapons are offline. Your ships are immobilized. Surrender now, and we will allow your surviving forces to leave." Varos felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The web is pulled tight. Aboard the UEF Warhammer, Admiral Alan Reeves stood with his arms behind his back, watching the Zorvath fleet struggle like insects trapped in a spider's web. Captain Samantha Hayes, his second in command, stood beside him, analyzing the holo display. "They're completely disabled," she noted, scanning the Imperial fleet. "The quantum disruption field is working better than expected." Reeves nodded, never taking his eyes off the display. "They were never prepared for an enemy like us." His voice was calm, almost disappointed. For centuries, humanity had hidden its true strength, building a military force that existed outside public knowledge. The world's superpowers had known for decades that they were not alone in the galaxy. Earth had been watching, listening, preparing. The Zorvath had been so confident in their superiority that they never considered the possibility that humanity had discovered them first. Now, they were paying for that arrogance. The Imperial response. Aboard the ISS Dominion, Admiral Varos forced himself to think clearly. This was not over. The Zorvath Empire did not surrender. They had conquered thousands of worlds, crushed countless civilizations, and ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and they would not fall to an unknown species. "Activate the Void Lance Protocol," Varos ordered, his voice steadied despite the panic around him. His officers hesitated. "Sir, the Void Lances require a manual command sequence," his weapons officer whispered. Varos' eyes burned with determination. "Then I'll do it myself." He stormed toward the central command console, bypassing the ship's frozen systems with his personal command codes. Deep within the Dominion's armored hull, hidden behind layers of redundant security systems, the Void Lance batteries began to awaken. These weapons were not tied to the ship's main systems. They were designed for one purpose: to annihilate entire planets in a single strike. Earth's counterattack. Aboard the UEF Warhammer, alarms flared. "Sir," Captain Hayes called out, "we're detecting an independent power surge within their flagship." Reeves's eyes narrowed. A backup system. Hayes's fingers flew across her console. Worse, it's a planet-killer weapon, something called a Void Lance. Reeves's expression darkened. Targeted. The UEF Hyperion, one of Earth's most advanced stealth warships, immediately adjusted its position, its zero-point energy cannons locking onto the Dominion. A burst of silent blue light streaked across space. The moment the energy blast hit, the Void Lance weapon system collapsed, its internals disassembling at a molecular level. Aboard the ISS Dominion, Varos watched in horror as his last hope was erased in an instant. That was when he finally understood. Humanity wasn't just strong. They were unstoppable. The end of the battle. Across the Imperial Armada, officers and soldiers stared at their dead consoles, their disabled weapons, and the impossibly precise enemy fleet surrounding them. Their entire strategy had crumbled. They had lost. And then, the final message came from Earth. Admiral Reeves's voice rang through every Imperial warship. "Your time is over. The Zorvath Empire's reign of terror ends here. You are given one chance to surrender. If you refuse, we will end this by force." Admiral Veros sat motionless in his chair, his mind reeling. For centuries, the Zorvath Empire had been the greatest power in the galaxy, and yet, in mere minutes, they had been rendered helpless. The Empire's mightiest warriors, its greatest ships, its most devastating weapons, all of it had failed. There was no escape. And for the first time in his entire career, Admiral Veros did something he never thought he would do. He surrendered. The galaxy reacts. The fall of the Imperial Armada sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News of Earth's impossible victory spread faster than light, reaching every corner of the known universe. The conquered worlds, long enslaved under Imperial rule, rebelled. The Zorvath war machine, once unstoppable, began to crumble. And at the center of it all, humanity stood victorious. Not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as a force that had rewritten the balance of power forever. Aboard the UEF Warhammer, Admiral Reeves turned to Captain Hayes. "This was just the beginning," he murmured. She nodded. "They won't take this defeat lightly." Reeves exhaled. "Then let them come." Because now, the entire galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the hunters. The Empire strikes back. The news of the Zorvath Empire's defeat at the hands of humanity spread through the galaxy like a wildfire, shaking the foundations of civilizations that had long lived under the Empire's iron grip. For millennia, the Zorvath had been the undisputed rulers of the known universe, their military strength unmatched, their war machine unstoppable. But now, the once feared empire had suffered a humiliating loss. The entire Imperial Armada, a force that should have wiped out Earth in hours, had been completely neutralized without the humans firing a single destructive shot. And the rest of the galaxy was watching. Rebellions ignited across Zorvath-controlled space. Conquered worlds, long oppressed under Imperial rule, saw a new hope. If the humans could bring the Empire to its knees, then maybe, just maybe, the Zorvath were not as invincible as they had once believed. But for the Zorvath High Council, there was only one course of action left: retaliation. A defeat of this magnitude could not be tolerated. If the Empire showed weakness, their enemies would rise against them, and their throne of conquest would crumble. The war was far from over, and humanity had no idea what was coming. The awakening of the Warborn. Deep within the Imperial core worlds, in a system hidden from all known star charts, lay the Zorvath Warforge, the most classified and forbidden military installation in the Empire's history. It was here that the Empire had created its greatest weapons, where entire fleets had been forged in the void, where the darkest secrets of war had been hidden away from the galaxy. And it was here that the Warborn slept. The Warborn were not soldiers. They were monsters, the result of centuries of forbidden experimentation, combining biological augmentation, cybernetic enhancements, and ancient Zorvath battle rituals to create warriors that felt no pain, no fear, and no mercy. They were the Empire's last resort, an elite force that had been deemed too dangerous to ever be deployed in a normal war. And now, the High Council had awakened them. Inside the Warforge's deepest vaults, giant stasis pods lined the walls, their surfaces covered in warning glyphs and containment seals. Each pod contained a Warborn warrior, their bodies engineered for only one purpose: genocide. A high warlord stepped forward, his crimson robes flowing behind him as he activated the central command console. A low rumble filled the chamber. Then the pods began to open. The Warborn had awakened, and they had only one mission: destroy humanity. The Council's reckoning. Back on Zorvath Prime, the Empire's homeworld, the Imperial High Council gathered in an emergency session, their expressions grim. The holographic projection of Earth's fleet hovered in the center of the Council chamber, its dark, sleek warships standing as monuments of the Empire's failure. Emperor Excel Karoth, the supreme ruler of the Zorvath, sat at the head of the council, his 3 crimson eyes burning with cold fury. "We have been humiliated," he growled. "The Empire has suffered a defeat that should never have been possible." One of the warlords stepped forward. "Perhaps we should negotiate." The Emperor turned his gaze on the warlord, and the entire chamber fell silent. "Negotiate." Selkaroth's voice was a quiet threat, filled with unspoken violence. "We do not negotiate with inferiors." A hologram flickered to life, displaying the Warburn's awakening. "I have ordered the deployment of our most elite forces," the Emperor declared. "We will not simply conquer Earth. We will erase them." His gaze swept across the gathered warlords. "Let it be known," he continued, "that the day the humans defied the Empire was the day they signed their own extinction." The warlords bowed in silence. The retaliation had begun. Earth's preparations. Meanwhile, on Earth, the leaders of the United Earth Federation, UEF, stood in a top-secret military command center, watching the galactic fallout from their victory. Admiral Alan Reeves stood at the center, his face unreadable as reports from across the galaxy flooded the holographic screens. Rebellions, uprisings, power shifts. Their victory against the Zorvath Armada had shaken the very foundations of the galactic order. But Reeves knew better than to celebrate. "This isn't over," he murmured. Captain Samantha Hayes, standing beside him, nodded. "They'll come back stronger." Reeves turned to his intelligence officer. "What do we know?" The officer hesitated before pulling up classified data intercepted from Zorvath transmissions. "Sir," the officer swallowed, "they're deploying something called the Warborn." The room went silent. Reeves frowned. "Warborn." The officer's face was pale. "From what little we could decipher, they're not just soldiers. They're living weapons, enhanced beyond anything we've ever encountered." A cold tension filled the command center. Reeves exhaled. "Then we prepare." He turned to his chief scientist. "How soon until Project Ascendant is ready?" The scientist adjusted his glasses, hesitant. "We're close, Admiral, but we need more time." "We don't have time," Reeves interrupted. "The moment the Warborn arrive, Earth will face a war like nothing we've ever seen." He turned to his officers. "Activate every classified military project. We've been holding back." A silent wave of tension rippled through the command team. They had spent decades preparing for an invasion. But this was no longer an invasion. This was a war of survival. And if Earth was to survive, humanity would have to unleash its greatest weapons. The Warborn are coming. Across the galaxy, the Warborn legions prepared for war. Their bodies, augmented with forbidden technology, pulsed with unnatural energy. Their eyes, once biological, now glowed with the cold precision of cybernetic warfare. And as they boarded their colossal warships, a single message was broadcast across the Empire. "The war for humanity's extinction has begun."